Wimberley Info was created to bring you the inside scoop on everything Wimberley, not just the mainstream tourist stuff either, but actual local insights. You will hear from ourselves, Trey and Djemilah, the many local business owners, their employees, and sometimes even the poor sap that we sat down next to at lunch, and so much more.
So this one is about sort of, and really these next couple are Pleasant Wimberley and his descendants. So they bought the mill in 1874, and this gives a little bit about his history as well. So you can see Pleasant. This is him as a young man right here, and this is a little later. So he was around 50 years old when they moved here. And he lived a long time. He was well up in his 90s when he died. But he was originally from North Carolina, I believe. And then in 1847, it says he arrived in Brenham on Christmas Day of 1847. And while he was there, he was single at the time. And then he eventually met his wife, Amanda. Amanda had been here longer, in Texas longer than he had. So this is an interesting piece of it right here. After they moved down here and they bought the land, I guess it's right here. They wanted a post office, and we often get the question, why are we called Wimberley? And this kind of explains it. So in 1880, they had this application to give a name to the town, and they first asked for this Wimberleyville. And the postmaster said that's too long, and they just shortened it to Wimberley. And so we've had a post office ever since then. So that's why the community is known as, still continued to be known as Wimberley. So this tells a little bit about him. And then he had a son. His name was Zach. It actually was Zachary Taylor Wimberley, which was named after the President of the United States. And so when they bought the land here, Pleasant was about in his 50s, and this son, Zach, he was like 22 or 3. So he was just kind of coming of age where they needed, Pleasant was probably thinking, what can I put that boy to work doing? And he sort of ran the mill for his dad a little bit. I don't know if they were full partners or exactly how it's set up. But so Zach was kind of, while he may not have been an owner, he was very involved in it. And he built a house for his young wife, Mary Elizabeth. She was like 14, I think, when they married, and he was about 22 or 3. And at first they came and lived in this house with all the other kids. And one day he was coming from the mill walking up here, and he said, he met her with her suitcase leaving. He said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going home to my mom. I'm not going to live in that house with your mother any longer. I've had enough. If you're not going to build me my house that you promised me, I'm going to go back home and live with my mother." So Zach got busy, and right down the hill between here and the mill race, he built a house, 1877 that was built. That for her, it was basically her house. So Wick has that house as well.
Okay.
So it's pretty much, it's left like it is. It's dried in. We don't use it much, but it's sort of a future development for it. One other thing about about Pleasant, that right here, when he was a rancher, farmer, raised horses, he had a big Percheron, is like a Clydesdale or like a big horse. And he would use that stud horse, that stallion, to breed with the local mares, and the colts would be these big, strong. And those are what the stagecoaches wanted in those days. So he kind of got a little premium price for his horses when he would do that. So he's a very good businessman, yeah. So he lived all the way to 1919, so he was up in his 90s. He's actually buried in the cemetery over here. On his little tombstone, it's got this little thing at the bottom that says, "The man for whom the town was named." It's kind of cool. So after he passed and the other kids started kind of running it, he it ended up the next miller that came down. This is one of Zach. So we talked about Zach being Pleasant's son, and this is one of his daughters right here is Susie Wimberley, and she married a guy named John Pilon, and he ended up running the mill until it finally closed in 1925. So the Pilon boys are kind of interesting. This is Sidney and this is John. They were brothers. And their dad was an old doctor here in Wimberley. And of course he ran the mill, and they married sisters. See, this one married Nellie and this one married Susie. So they married, both are Zach's daughters. And Sidney was a blacksmith. Wimberley Cafe downtown, that little marker under the awning where you go to it, that's where his blacksmith shop was. This was it right here. There's a little marker there that describes it. Another thing I find kind of interesting is John Will. So here he is as a young man, and you can see him over here. So he's got his mustache. Here he is as a little older man, but you can, the face changed, this body size changed, but the mustache still looks the same.
He liked his mustache.
Here he is down here too. And of course this is, let's see, that's Susie, and that's right out in front of this house right here where we were just at, where we took pictures.
If you found this episode helpful, please let us know by leaving a review. For more Wimberley insights or to check out our local business directory, go to www.wimberley.info and be sure to follow us on Instagram for daily Wimberley content. If you have a question for us about Wimberley, email us at wimberley.info@gmail.com or message us at wimberley.info on Instagram.